Hi everyone, I'm Rick McBroom.
And I'm Connie McBroom.
Thanks for watching our Pointe Royale YouTube video.
Today we're going to talk about our board president's letter that was sent out to members by email last week.
It said basically, hasn't there been enough insults and false accusations? Well, I don't know. I don't know if they're all false insults. I can tell you the insults have been going back and forth. I've been insulted.
I've been insulted.
We've all been insulted. And more importantly, the people of Pointe Royale has been insulted. Number 2, it says, not one of the POA board of directors or the finance committee has ever seen any indication of unscrupulous or criminal activity. Well, I hope that's true. But you know what? Just because you haven't seen it doesn't mean it didn't exist. In his third paragraph, he says local realtors have informed them because of the posts that have been out there that they may have lost potential sales in the Pointe Royale. But the funny thing is, I've got realtors that said it's been like this for years. Paragraph number 4, be an informed owner and become familiar with the covenants. I completely agree. Our bylaws is how things are run at Pointe Royale. The problem is our management hasn't been following the bylaws. So this makes it difficult, and for somebody to write in here that everyone should become familiar with this, I couldn't agree with Jay more. Everybody needs to become familiar with this, so you'll understand too of what's going on here, and more importantly, what's not going on.
Exactly.
Much has been written about the $1.5 million loan from the POA to the Gulf back in 2008. I've written about this several times, and people have probably gotten tired of it. In the last letter that Jay sent everybody, that Misty was kind enough to post online, confirmed exactly what I said. That money has never been repaid back to the POA. Jay tried to explain that here in his letter, that it's kind of like going on vacation. You don't have enough money in one account, so you switch it over to the other account, and when you get back, you switch the money back, and so on. I've always called that a shell game.
Well, actually, it's legally, it's called commingling of funds.
Why is that bad?
Well, what that means is two corporations, say Corporation A owns Corporation B.
So we're talking about the POA, which is a nonprofit.
The POA, which is nonprofit,
okay,
owns Corporation B, which is a golf association, which is a for-profit.
Right.
That is fine, but the not-for-profit cannot loan money to the for-profit without having proper documentation. Otherwise, it's considered commingling of funds. Proper documentation means there should be loan papers in place until the loan is paid in full.
Well, I do know that the POA borrowed the $1.5 million from a bank, and that loan's been paid back. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, it absolutely has been. But the money from the Golf Association borrowed from the POA has never been paid back. And there's not paperwork showing the borrowing of the funds.
What do you mean there's no paperwork? How do we know that?
Well, we've asked for that, and we were told no such documents exist.
Is this the one that I emailed Misty, and I think I posted that, where Misty said no records exist?
Exactly.
And this is the problem we're having?
That is the problem we're having.
Okay, so when the IRS checks into this, which from what we understand, there isn't an active investigation right now into Pointe Royale's tax situation, brings up another point here. The same thing where he's talking about shell game this money back and forth from POA to golf and golf back to POA and so on. Please keep in mind that this simple explanation does not address the not-for-profit and for-profit tax issues that we have identified and are currently working to resolve. So, folks, this is what he's saying. Jay's saying we've got a tax problem because we've been commingling funds. This is one of the most important sentences in this entire letter that he sent out. He admitted exactly what I said, and what Connie has tried to explain here is that Pointe Royale has been commingling funds from one account to the other, which basically is illegal to do so, and still be able to keep your tax-free status, which could open up things for us to have to pay all these back taxes, correct?
Right, exactly. And it's not only the $1.5 million that was lent to the Golf Association, it's also the years of the investment in subsidiaries.
Okay, that's you're talking about then where the next paragraph says several years ago a finance committee was instituted and so on to take care of these things and make sure we don't get in this kind of trouble. And it says for anyone to insult and ridicule these 4 volunteer owners who donate their time. Several years ago a finance committee was organized in order to basically do a checks and balances on all the money, make sure everything is where it should be and so on. We did ask Bruce Sisk, who was nice enough to sit in on us when we were looking at some documents a little over a week ago, And I asked Bruce about some money that we had questions about. It was almost $1.4 million, correct?
In 2018, it was right at 1.4 million, $1,300,994,399.
That's right, because I've actually posted about those numbers too. Just so everybody knows, I want to explain to you that Connie and I were business owners for almost 20 years. But we were always in the black every year, and everything was great, and we appreciate that. Connie did all of our financial work. She did all of our accounting. We actually got audited during that almost 20-year span 2 times. And these were spot audits. This isn't anything that stood out. It was just spot audits. And we actually got money back from them. And the reason for that was probably because of the way Connie did the books. She knew exactly how to keep records and so on. And what did they say to you?
They said thank you. They would ask us to come in and meet with them. I'd bring in the boxes with the receipts, all of the documentation that I knew that we needed, brought it in, set it down in front of them, and they would open up the box, and they looked at me and said, "Where are the trash bags? We're used to people bringing in trash bags. I don't use trash bags. I use file cabinets. I make sure everything is organized and kept in sync year by year by year, month by month, even week by week, to make sure that if this ever happened, all I had to do is pull out a file and go, here you are."
So we were doing about $1.5 to $2 million in business per year. Pointe Royale does a lot more than that. So if we could keep up with ours, you would think Pointe Royale could do theirs. The problem is, just like when you ask about documents for this $1.5 million, we're told they don't exist. That's pretty amazing, you know, to lose a $1.5 million loan document. But let's skip forward a little bit. So anyway, we asked Bruce, we asked him about this number, and he said he had no idea. So, and that's fine. Later, he was nice enough to send us an email, which we have from Bruce here, trying to explain that money. He said here it was 1.3 million. It was actually closer to 1.4 million, but that's okay. He said the numbers you're talking about is the investment in subsidiary. This is a balance sheet item. There is no transfer of that money every year. Okay. The change you see from year to year is the new amount of the investment in subsidiary. So the investment in subsidiary is the money received from the POA, the golf received from the POA, right?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Okay. So is Bruce wrong here, or what am I looking at?
Well, basically what he's saying is every year the POA is having to subsidize the golf association by varying amounts from year to year. They may need $600,000 one year, maybe $1 million the next year. It just varies from year to year. And I've got documentation here to show that we'll take, for example, 2015. I'm looking at the balance sheet that shows that it's called an investment in golf, the POA.
Where did we get this information right here?
This is actually directly from the office. This is from the POA.
And that's on the website too, right?
Is that correct? Yes, these are on the websites.
Okay.
It says investment in golf. This shows $762,000. But then when you go on the website and pull this directly off of the website, it shows the investment in subsidiary, which Bruce stated it was the same amount, is what I got directly from the office. This is from the POA. This shows an investment in golf in 2015 for $762,000.
Wow, a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. But then when you go on the website and you pull it up, on the audited financials, it shows the investment in subsidiary to be $948,000.
Now, wait a minute. Those two numbers are not the same. There's about a $200,000 difference, right?
Correct.
So this one is this consolidated balance sheet. This is for the golf, or is this the
This is
POA?
from the POA.
But shouldn't these two match?
They should both be identical.
Okay, so here we've got a discrepancy of about $200,000, give or take, 10 or 20 or 30,000. When you're dealing with millions, maybe that doesn't mean a whole lot. But the problem is they should match.
Right.
And if they don't match, there should be a reason for it. And folks, what we've been asking for is to try and get to the bottom of the financials, because they are such a disaster, nobody can figure out what's going on. This is the problem we're having. And I think we need to figure out a better way or a better system or something of coming up and accounting for this money. And the reason this is important, it's just like this coming Monday at 2 o'clock. We're having another board meeting with, I think, the POA.
It's the budget meeting.
The budget meeting,
right.
And it's going to be with the golf, and I think the COA is going to be there too, the condo association.
Right, they're setting up the budget.
And last week when they had this meeting at 2 o'clock on a Monday afternoon, they had mentioned that the golf now had mentioned that they may need another 100,000 this year over last year because they want to put concrete cart paths in, get rid of the ones we have, which are asphalt, and put in concrete. I don't know about you guys, but I'll tell you what. When we raised our kids, we did it like this. We said, kids, this is what you do. You always take care of the have-to things first. The want-to things come later if you have the money for it. Well, you know what? We don't have the money for the want-to things. No. If we did, then the golf wouldn't have to be borrowing money from the POA all the time. And
well, it's not borrowing; it's subsidizing.
Oh, okay. So
the POA is subsidizing the golf.
So we're basically just keeping the golf afloat. Okay. Well, the dues and everything, I guess, cover that, right? The golf dues, they don't cover that?
No, they do not.
So even though where our dues are at,
they're at $915 every year currently.
Is that for everybody here?
That's for everybody within the Pointe. We all pay the same amount.
That's property owners and condo owners.
Right, correct.
So with all that money, they still don't have enough. Plus, they get money from charging other people to play golf, right?
Correct.
Okay.
You buy the passes. People buy the passes. They come in and play golf. That's all money into the golf association. All
right. Well, that kind of goes over a little bit about the financial difficulties we've had in trying to find a balance here. You know, we're not bad people, folks. We're just trying to get to the bottom of these financials and figure out what in the world has happened to all this money. Even going by Ray's own letter, he stipulated in several places where he's having a problem with this too. But they're working on it. He goes on to say some things about many of us have worked our entire life to live in a community such as Pointe Royale. Well, we have too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we bought our house just like everybody else. We pay our dues and our fees. And when things first started and we got a few, I don't know, we had a few questions and we'd start asking, and then those wouldn't get answered, and then that came up with more questions. Then it just kind of snowballed on this last paragraph. He's wanting people to be more civil and respect our neighbors. I'm 100% in agreement with that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
We don't want to say anything. You know, it's just like Misty. I've said a lot of things about Misty. You know, and I said this last week on YouTube. Misty may be a fine person. She might be a great sister, a great daughter. I have no idea. I don't know Misty, but I know she's a bad manager. And the reason I say that is because this disaster that we have here, we're not getting documents. When we ask for documents we should have, we're just told they don't exist. Well, you know what? You're a manager. You need to manage these. You need to make sure those are there. That's the reason you're getting paid $93,000 a year.
Well, the numbers should add up.
They should.
They should
and this
add
is the
up.
problem. Okay, one other thing we'll talk about on the financials before we skip on to something else. And can you go ahead and explain that to me about, and this has got to do with the bylaws, right?
Yeah, correct. This
Okay.
is the bylaws.
So where's that at in the bylaws that we're going to be talking about? Other people can look it up.
Article 5, fiscal management. Number 1, letter D, under accounts.
What does that say?
The golf assessments, which shall include all golf assessments collected by the association, which shall be used by the association as directed by the golf course committee solely for the operation, improvement, management, repair, and regulation of the 18-hole championship golf course, pro shop, and men and women's locker rooms.
I think that sounds great.
Well, nowhere in here do I see anything about a grill, food, and beverage.
What do you mean?
Well, if you look under the Pointe Royale golf owners balance sheet,
right,
the golf owners were managing the bar and grill to the tune of $77,771. This is a Pointe Royale Golf Association balance sheet.
Why is that important?
Well, it shows here now. I just read that all golf assessments will be used solely for the operation and improvement, management, and repair of the 18-hole championship golf course, pro shop, and the locker room.
Right.
Nowhere in there does it say anything about a bar and grill.
Okay, but from what I understand, the bar and grill is leased by the pro shop, which would be the golf. Is that right?
Correct. That's where they're getting the money from the golf assessments.
Okay. Well, they can't use that money for that, right?
Well, they're not supposed to be, but since it's not broke down, we don't know what money is used for what. So, for example, we have the golf assessments.
Right.
And they take that money in, but we're also subsidizing the golf course.
Okay, so from what I understand, the grill is slated to lose $50,000 correct? It's going to be in the red, $50,000.
Correct.
So I also understand that they're trying to ask the POA to kick in that $50,000 to make up the difference.
They are. So again, we're asking the POA to subsidize another enterprise that's losing money.
Which is the grill.
Which is the grill.
And the grill is leased to the golf association, right, or the golf?
To golf, correct.
Okay, so we've got 3 different companies here. We've got the POA, then we've got the golf, then we've got the grill.
And the grill falls underneath the golf.
Okay, and we know the golf is losing money because they still have to get money from us constantly. And now we know the grill's missing money, and they're getting their money, I guess, from the golf. And the golf's getting their money from us. So is that further commingling of funds?
It is. It's even further commingling of funds.
Well, it sounds like it's a big problem to me, but it sounds like more of the shell game. All right, that pretty much wraps it up for what we wanted to talk about on Jay's letter. I said there was some good things in here too, and I want to read that. I think it's important. At the end, Jay signed it as president of the Pointe Royale Board of Directors. I think it's nice that he owns up to his letter. And the part where he says, "May God bless you and your families." I think that's great. Anytime somebody gives us a blessing like that, I think that's great. So that part of his letter, I'm all for too.
Absolutely.
Okay, one other thing we want to go on before we completely close out of Jay's letter, and this is from a prior board member, or former board member. Former board member. His name's John Freed. John's a great guy. I've met him a few times. I've talked to him. He's been to my home. Forrest Bowles has been here. Glenn has been here. Glenn Newsom. Ed's been here. I've had lots of board members I've talked to on the phone. This isn't something that we're all just, battling it out with each other.
We're all trying to figure it out together.
We are trying to figure it out. And just so you know, there are several board members that feel just like we do. They come with the same things. We have no idea. They said, we've asked for these things too, and we can't get it. Well, you know what? The best I remember, the management works for the board, right?
That's how it should be. That's my understanding.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then we have some problems there too. But that'll be for another time. But anyway, so our friend John Freed, our former board member, wrote a letter to Jay. This is his, and I've got a copy of this. And this email he sent to Jay basically is telling him that his letter had a lot of difficulties, things that were in his letter that he brought up on his own and investigated. And I'm not going to go through the whole letter. I'll just let you know that it's very detailed. John's a very detailed guy, very smart, intelligent. He knows what he's doing. He stays up late at night working on these things. I wish he was on the board right now. These are the kind of board members we need. But he went through all of this, everything from the golf as nonprofit corporation and giving it to the subsidiary and so on, which we've talked about in depth here. And he even has one part in here about thanking my wife and I for bringing this out in the open. Folks, we've had literally hundreds of people respond to us thanking us for bringing this out. We hope everything turns out. We're not looking to cause trouble here. We're not trying to get the golf course closed down. I'm a golfer. We bought our house because we're on the 16th tee box out here. There's lots of other things on here that John's pointed out back when they had a big ice problem and the maintenance was an issue and so on. Lots of detailed pictures in here of problems with properties that have not been fixed. And these are recent. These aren't from a year or two ago. These were just taken a few days ago. So if any of you would like to get a copy of this, just send me an email or something and we'll shoot you off copies. And we'll give you copies of anything we have here. We have absolutely nothing to hide.
Right, if you want to sit down and go over numbers,
we're perfectly okay with that. I've invited all the board members to talk with me. I've invited all of them to call me at any time they want. I've told anybody that if our front door is open, stop by and see us. We don't mind. We're here to stay. We're not going anywhere. And all we want to do is make Pointe Royale great again. And when I say that it's okay for people to stop by, we've had a lot of people stop by.
We have had a lot of people stop by.
If you drive by our house during the day, you'll always see different cars out here.
And we're enjoying getting to know everybody.
Oh, we love it here. There's such good people here. Even our board members, I'm sure they're fine. Even Forrest is probably a great guy. Forrest was the very first board member that came by and to see me. We're hoping there are not these big problems that we have. I would say that if all the money is where it's supposed to be and so on, then it's just a management fiasco. I'd say that the guys working on the finance committee, they're probably good guys too. But you know what? Just because you get elected as a board member or you're put in charge of the finances doesn't make you great at being a finance person or being a good manager.
Well, I mean, for example, when we ran our business, if I had a financial question, I had a friend of mine, very good friend, I could call and ask, hey, I've got a question about this. I don't understand it. He'd come walk me through it. I'd be like, oh, I get it. I understand now. Thank you. I mean, we've got resources we use too.
Absolutely.
We don't think we know it all.
No, and as everybody knows, I'm running for a board seat at this next election. There's also going to be 2 other board seats available that people are going to be running for. So there's 3 seats available. I'm hoping that I get on the board. If I do, then I'll be one other vote to go into full transparency so that we can all look at these things and see what's going on. There's not going to be more of this stuff where if you want to see something, you're going to have to pay $70 an hour to look these documents up. And we're going to save that for the next YouTube also about why that's not legal to do that according to the bylaws.
Right, exactly.
Not Missouri state law. We're talking about the bylaws, which Pointe Royale is supposed to be governed by. So at this time, I guess we're going to say goodbye. We really appreciate everybody being here, and thanks again for being here.
Thank you for being here. Bye.